President and Deputy General Counsel at Verizon, where she led the legal teams responsible for video franchising for Bios TV and content acquisition across all Verizon platforms. So this is very special to me to have a lawyer, a corporate counsel here today to speak with us. Tanya has negotiated a variety of streaming, cable, and studio licensing agreements. She received a bachelor's degree in economics from Johns Hopkins, earned her Juris Doctor from George Washington University, and graduated from I'm going to mispronounce this, Mercersburg Academy, where she's the founding president of the school's Black Student Union and is the founding president of its Black Alumni Association. She co-hosts Cypher, a vodcast about Mercersburg's Black alumni. She's a former panelist at South by Southwest and a guest on Lifting Up, a podcast about Verizon's women leaders. She served on the board of directors of the Augusta Mini Theater, a community arts center. And Tanya coaches professionals and business owners on creating a legacy based on purpose and effective networking. So thank you so much for being here today. Next up is Roderick Lawrence. Roderick Lawrence is the creator, co-writer, lead actor, and lead producer of Silent Partner. He is an acclaimed actor and the co-founder of Black Man Films. He's a 2025-84 Excellent Film Festival Best Actor recipient, just happened. A 2024 River Run International Best Actor recipient. A 2022 Bronze Lens Best Actor recipient over Coleman Domingo. And a 2020 Adelco nominee, which are the Black Tonys in New York City. His credits include Simba in Disney's The Lion King National Tour, Ramses in the Broadway-bound Prince of Egypt, Othello and John Leguizamo's Othello the Remix, Floyd Barton in Seven Guitars here at Arena Stage, Jesus in Godspell, and Ike Turner in Broadway's Tina National Tour. Welcome. And finally, we have BK Fulton, one of our producers as well. So thank you very much, BK, for being here with us. BK is a seasoned executive and media entrepreneur with a proven record of building and backing commercially successful creative ventures. So let me read that again. Commercially successful creative ventures. Formerly president of Verizon, he transitioned full-time into media production in 2015 and has since produced more than 20 films, 19 books, and 4 #1 Broadway productions. His Broadway credits include The Piano Lesson, the highest grossing Broadway revival in history, The Wiz, The Outsiders, winner of 4 Tony Awards, including Best Musical, and the first Broadway production since 2022 to reach profitability. His producing portfolio spans film, television, publishing, and live theater. HBO Max, Warner Brothers, released Movie Crash, a documentary about his MoviePass venture, named one of Rolling Stone's best documentaries of 2024. BK serves on multiple corporate and cultural boards and is a member of the Producers Guild of America, which I hope to be soon. He is an award-winning leader recognized for excellence in media, business, and film. Additionally, before leading Verizon, BK was the founding director of technology programs and policy at the National Urban League, and the late past president of the Greater Washington Urban League, Miss Maudine Cooper, was godmother to BK's twin sons. So this place and the people that support it are family to BK and his wife, who is here today, Jackie Stone. So thank you so much. With that, Tanya, I'll give it to you. So don't waste any more time.
All right. We don't have too much time. But before we get started, thank you all so much for being here. This is something that we've been waiting for a while. And so we are glad you are here. So we just want you to yell out 1 or 2 words about what you thought about the film. How did it make you feel? Come on, y'all. I heard y'all. Emotional. What was the word? Triggering. Emotional. What else? Angry. Exasperating. What is that? Confined. Empathy.
Excellent acting press.
Any others?
Conflicted.
Conflicted. Very conflicted.
Yes.
Extremely conflicted, right? So we want to hear more from you, but we wanted to know immediately, like, what were your thoughts, and so thank you for sharing those. And so, Roderick, I want to talk to you first. There are a lot of themes in this film, but one that really resonates is sacrifice. Lots of sacrifice in the film. Can you tell us why you chose to deal with that issue?
Yeah, I think it's funny even hearing your reactions. Like take those reactions and equate them to however you got here. Unfortunately, our reality of moving into certain spaces, and it doesn't have to be. And also, it's not always the case. There are a few brothers and sisters who moved up in other ways, but it seems like our theme as a people is sacrifice. Regardless of the progressions that we make here in Washington and throughout the country, it seems like the theme is always sacrifice. So it's just, I ask myself the question, and I know that my father deals with it often. I know that you've all dealt with it a lot more than I have. But it's just like, what is it worth for us? Like, what is winning? What is success? And what are we willing to sacrifice? A lot of this came out of me believing that we didn't have to in all of our industries. But being understood is one thing. I don't necessarily believe in them to understand us, but being heard is something I believe in. So getting our stories out and telling our stories honestly of sacrifice that we make. To all of our parents told us we have to work 100 times harder to get half as much, and why that is the story. I think it's just like one of the biggest things in our successes.
That's right, and there are a lot of trade-offs.
Yes.
Right, we saw that in the film. Just a lot of trade-offs, and so BK, you're a seasoned executive. I think you know a little bit about trade-offs.
I do.
You want to share any stories?
Sure. First of all, again, I'll echo the thank you. One of our friends showed up. And that's just a big part of life, showing up for each other. I usually sit in the back of screenings, and I want to hear what people have to say, and watch the reaction to the film. I love it when you talk to the screen. I love it when you laugh at the right moment and gasp at the right moment. It tells us as creatives that we're doing something right and we're hitting the tones, because really good art punches above its weight and it makes you think. When they asked me to help with this project, I saw some rough cuts. Three big ideas came to mind, and I'll get to the direct answer to your question about some of the trade-offs. One of them was anything that costs you your peace is probably too expensive. Another thing was, in this human journey, support is critically important, whether it's a spouse, a close friend, a community. That support helps us, and that helps to validate us, because sometimes the world tells you other than what grandma and the ancestors told you was true. And the other thing, probably the most provocative, as you think about the rock we share, this nation we share, how do you heal a nation that's willing to tell its young people they're strong enough for weapons, but too weak for war? So they trade off. You try to be excellent in everything that you do. When I joined the phone company, I had no idea that person like me, from where I came from, would have an opportunity to lead anything. I mean, last job I had for Verizon, I think I was head of the Mid-Atlantic region, had 45,000 employees. And we took our group from 3+ billion to 6+ billion. So we did the thing. I retired early and decided God wasn't done with me yet. And then I spent my first 50 years doing what I was trained to do. And now I get to spend the rest of my life doing what I was made to do. And that is to tell these stories and lift voices for all of our community. I was a kid that was flunking out of college. I went to engineering school at Virginia Tech. There was too many pretty girls. I was playing ball. It was cold on that drill field, and I don't like the cold, so I might have missed a class or two. And that's not a formula for success. Definitely not a path to get you into the present of God. So I went to the library to plan my escape. And this is where it gets divine. I don't know what your faith tradition is. I don't know what your connection with people that are a little wiser or been on the planet a little longer. But I feel like it was divine. The main library at Virginia Tech is 5 stories and 2 million volumes. I went into that library trying to figure out how to get out of there and get away from that school. And the first book I picked up happened to have a story about a guy named Lewis. And if you don't know who that is, you should. Sometimes people don't teach you what you need to know. But he was the guy that helped Edison to produce lights. In fact, the commercial light, as we know it today, is largely the Latimer idea. The carbon filament versus the paper filament that Edison used. And kind of fire and paper goes out. But the carbon filament lasts. So the projects like London, Montreal, London, New York, Philadelphia, and Montreal were all headed by Lewis Latimer. The very first book in the world on incandescence, Lewis Latimer. The original patent drawings for the telephone. Lewis Latimer. Reading that book and the books in that section, in Dewey Decimal System Library, the E185 section is happens to be the section of Black people. This is the importance of stories that center you and help you to believe that you can achieve. I went from the probations list to the dean's list to the board of directors of Virginia Tech. They're flying me in a jet to govern the school. Not because I was better, because I took in different information that spoke to me, information that told me the opposite of what I had been taught to believe pretty much from high school up to that time. And I realized that these stories could heal. These stories make us think and rethink the things that we are told. So by the time I got to be an executive and a person in charge of big organizations and many people, I remembered to try to bring that empathy and that wisdom and the things I had learned. And I tell people, just pay it forward. Get to know other communities. Get to know your own community. Unfortunately, we know very little about each other. At least not what we could know about each other. I was sharing, and I'll shut up in a sec. I was with a friend in the Caribbean, and she happened to be Mexican American. I was sharing some of her story. And I said, dude, tell me something your people contributed to our society that's really important. And he made a funny joke. I won't repeat the joke because it was politically incorrect. But he said, tell me. And I said, color television. He's like, what? I was like, right. You're John Keone. You're on TV. And no one had the good sense to tell you that your people, Guillermo Gonzalez Camarena, even has camera in his name. Invented color television in 1947. There are other things. There's so much to know. But if we don't know who we are and who others are, then we allow the stereotypes to fill the spaces where we could put actual knowledge, useful knowledge, knowledge that tells us to embrace each other and love each other and lift each other. Turns out that God is so into diversity that He made us all different. Even twins are different fingerprints. No animals the same, no flower, no trees. Every snowflake that's ever fallen is different. Trillions. Every single one is different. And every one that will fall will be different from those that have fallen before. That's how into diversity God is. And our job as mere mortals is to come together and to learn from the diversity, and learn from the diversity. And that leads to harmony, and that leads to love. I challenge people to challenge DEI. I was like, do you even know what it means? I'm not going to get into a whole bunch of metaphysics with you, but let's just take the Latin translation, not the African, not the whatever you think I'm going to be biased about. The Latin translation of DEI is of God. Look it up. So if you're against diversity, you might just be against God. And who are we to be against God?
Thank you for sharing those perspectives. I think that you talked about storytelling and the importance of it. I have a really quick story about how I came to meet Roderick and Selma and to get involved in this work. Marita Coley, who is here at this table, was one of my mentors when I was in law school. And I was talking to her one day, and she told me she was working on a project. And it was Dancing in Substance. And it was a film that she had, helped to produce. She invested in the film. And I said, I didn't know you could do that. You know, so you talk about community and people helping. I was like, you can do that? You can invest in a film? She's like, well, of course you can. And so that stuck with me for my entire adult career. It stuck with me. And just last year, I was meeting with a friend who asked me to participate and help screen this film. And I was like, say less. I said, I have a question for you. How can I invest in a film? He said, you say less. Write the check.
And she did.
I did. And we encourage you all to write the checks too, so that we can do more and more of this. So one of the things that Jason, what was his last name? McMillan? Jason,
Yes.
the lead partner. One of the things that he said.
Cyrus being from Scandal.
Yes.
I know.
You know, we know who he was. So one of the words that he used, ironically, was legacy. And so, you know, legacy, I'm a legacy coach, right? So I'm like, oh, I perked up. I'm like, Tell me about legacy from your perspective. What is the legacy that you hope to leave and to live as you create other films, Black men films, you know, Silent Partner? Yeah. What is the legacy that you want to leave for us?
That's another question. You know, like, getting into acting if there's kids and if you have kids and if whatever else, if they're serious about it and they're kind of good, then high school, you know, you get in and you should go to school and you should go to a top program if you can get in, and you should study and do that. And if you do that as a Black leading male, then they all it's like all the ones that we follow like play single, and they play these roles, like these few roles that we have, and so they get into, unless you book a movie early, but like you go through the theater thing, you do the things, and I got into the spaces that I thought were like dream roles and things like that, and realized that not only was that not it, but it just wasn't. It wasn't building any legacy in the way that I now understand what it is. And, you know, I go to FCBC in Harlem. That's my church. On 116th is my favorite church in the world. I didn't grow up religious. I had a homie who was an actor also who took me when I was going through some shit. some things. Maybe 8-10 years ago, and Pastor Mike Walgren just speaks life into everybody, but really spoke life into me. And I think that like throughout the process of me finding religion, of me finding God, finding the things that my purpose, if you will, it was like legacy for me was like God gave me gifts to open doors and gifts and raise that level, like to make other people's dreams possible. To make other things possible, as opposed to like my thought in my head was always like, cool, like I'm attractive, I'm a good actor, I train, I'm gonna get famous, I can take care of my family, I can take care of my girl, I can take care of my kids, I can do whatever it is. But really, it was like taking these gifts that God gave me and not using them for us, which leaves in my mind no legacy. No legacy. So for me, it just turned into, I might be, I say a lot of things in a lot of places that you're not supposed to say those things. But my parents brought me up to know my worth, and I'm fortunate enough to realize that I was talented, I was gifted in the things that I do. So I try to use that agency in spaces, which is open these things that we've done. And now, instead of like spending 10 years building what I thought was my legacy, building these roles and building these things, which I'm still doing, now it feels like in the past few years I've just started to build the legacy. Created a lot of jobs, pushed out a lot of our actual stories and our actual hardships and the actual things that we go through made us feel seen, which raises us in levels that like position and gatekeeping can't do. So, I feel like it was a blessing to realize the gifts that I have, blessing to realize that I pray to God that those gifts will take care of me and my family, but really like the legacy was in building like my family, was in opening these things and building these doors, seeing that I had the agency and that I could articulate the things I was feeling, and I could prove with the work that it was all it was. So now I'm hoping that I'm starting to build the modicum of legacy, but I'm figuring that out. So.
I love that answer because it's all about living legacy. It's all about a living legacy, right? We get to live it before we leave it behind. And so I appreciate you for the work that you're doing. Also, I get to be a part of your legacy, and we collectively get to do it. And I invite you all to get involved in these kinds of films, get involved in social justice work, because we're all needed in it. And so it's such a great gratitude that I'm able to be a part of this. I know that we are short on time. I want to give you all an opportunity to ask any questions of Roderick and BK. And if you don't have questions, I'll ask them. Questions about the film? Thoughts?
I have a question for you. So, as you were playing this role, what feelings evoked in you as you get with your values, your character, and everything? Just
Thank you for that. I think that for me, like I said, I play Ike Turner. I hear NDC. I play Floyd and 7 guitars. If you know the August Wilson piece, those things. And for me, the monolith experience of like the black man and the black woman has been like the detriment to our storytelling. It's just so it's funny because like when I got into Ike, it was all this. He's the villain. He's the villain. You know what he did, and I understand. Like I don't talk to his family members. I don't talk he did some things. He did a lot of things that we don't necessarily. But we with him and with Floyd and with all of these characters, we get so far away from how we got there, which is everything in black black culture, black experience, black everything. It's how we got there. So for me, like playing any of those roles is always about like it's not that it's the villain or that we showed up this way. It's the systems and the things that have put us there and how and why we got there. So I can try to embody those things. My father and I, like my father is a great man. I'm from Cleveland originally. I live in New York. A great man, works really hard. He's I think the marketing director of Akron Children's Hospital. We had a lot of my dad for at some point reasons that like I'm the artist and he's like the business person and he sees what we have to do. And at some point I was on some of that like dumb I'm not our ancestors shit, which I hate any person of any age who would say that. You don't know what does that mean. You know, what does that mean? It's about taking these things, understanding like what our fathers, our grandmothers, our ancestors have sacrificed for, how we can elevate those things. But the conversation in between is not happening. So you know, I kind of try to delve into playing these characters. All that shit that they say that happened to Ike, them stealing his music and them ruining it happened. You know, it happened. And it's like, while it doesn't excuse the things that you do in the later, it informs everything that we do. So like my father telling me about certain things, me talking up in white rooms that I wasn't supposed to speak in, was informed by something that had happened and him wanting me to have my best me. So, you know, our art is in my view, our ability to express all of the things that we're feeling, the things that we're not sharing because we're either using our black women as our therapists or not speaking to them. So like that, there's no middle ground between that, but we can show those things between this. So it's really about like diving into the inner workings of the why we are here, why we are the way we are, why we are responding or not communicating in the spaces that we do, and really trying to live through that experience as opposed to archetyping our characters as the villain of this story, or as the black man who does this, or as the sellout, or as the whatever. I'm very loud, and all the rooms you're not supposed to be. So I'm the opposite of the character. You know, but growing up was understanding. You know, especially when it came to my father or whoever it may be. Growing up was understanding. So how to sparse that together and how to put it out in a way that we understand and that we feel is kind of the way that I deal with these characters. I hope that answered any of the.
Yes, I have two questions and a statement. Black Man Films,
Yes,
is that your company?
Yes, sir.
Who wrote the script?
Myself, J.J. Johnson, who is an actor in D.C. and a writer as well, and Eric Bronco, the director.
So, Harper, they said generosity is our only security. And we were generous enough to do this. I don't have a lot of money, but I don't make sure I can do something.
I appreciate you, sir.
But it was just mind-blowing. At my age, I turned 87 years old last week.
Well,
And at times, I give up on young people, but I come.
I understand that.
And I thank you for inviting me to come. But, this has been just. I had all kind of things going on in the beginning, and then it shifted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, look, not again.
Yes.
Not again. We're not gonna do this again. And then,
Yes.
so
Thank you.
I want to be around. I want to see it. It's good.
I appreciate you.
Looks like he's 25.
Yeah, I was trying to get there, man.
So a lot of times people overlook the music. I really heard the music. A little bit about the music.
Yeah, it's not finished, and I like y'all don't understand. I love like the energy in this room is amazing, so I appreciate y'all for that. I'm sitting back there thinking about the sound the whole time. And the score is so beautiful, and you didn't fully get to experience it. Kari Mateen is the composer. He's on Jill Scott's new album. Wrote and did a few songs on there. And you know, for like going back to the communities, going back to the work. The work for me is about, like I think that the powers that be. I'm gonna say I'm trying to be PC. I'm gonna watch this. The powers that be allow and accept certain things from us, and if we patronize those things, which we should, because like the powers that be patronize all types of things on their side, and we, we don't necessarily have those freedoms and those things, but I think that they do it very specifically to keep us in the space. So that to say, I grabbed all of the best at everything that I knew, the best actors, the best writers, whatever. Kari composed a film called Really Love that was on Netflix, a beautiful black love story. He also started his career writing for The Roots at 18. Came out doing whatever. I hit the boy on Instagram. We didn't have, I didn't have too many connections, too many whatever, but I knew that he was our, my age, Robert Glasper, and it was important to me, so I reached out to him when we were doing, and now he's like a brother to me. In the past few years, he's made a lot of this happen. So he's a composer. For me, jazz is jazz R&B is the black backstory. It is like what accompanies you down the street. So I don't understand why our films have to have either some commercial, like whatever scoring that you kind of put to whatever, or hip hop to everybody's whatever. And I'm a big rap hip hop fan, I tell you, and I'll watch all of whatever it is, but that's not our story. The composition is your scene partner when nobody else is speaking. Mm-hmm. So this to me speaks to like the heart of Harlem, which is where the shot everything is around there. That's what I appreciate you.
Somebody said the blues can cure the blues.
Yes,
sir.
sir.
I want to comment on that because I want to pick up on that. I'm so glad that you could hear that we paid attention to the music. And despite some of what we really wanted you to hear completely, we're probably, creators are probably our own worst enemies because we're focusing on every little thing that should have happened, didn't get said, or whatever. So the artist's journey is long. And one of the reasons we need your support is to finish and to put this kind of art out there in the world. Notice it was a successful lawyer on the come up and sought after, but still having to play a little game. His wife was a PhD. It was a family, not a broken home. It's a different kind of story. And, if you think about cinema from, a lot of people think Oscar Michaud, who did the first black film company, the Lincoln Film Company, but it was actually a guy in New Jersey, and he had the Frederick Douglass Film Company. He created the company after Birth of a Nation, which was shown in the White House. Very racist film, but he did it because he didn't want those images to be the lasting images, and he wanted to compete. Media is very powerful, and while we're supposed to walk by faith and evidence of things not seen, if we can see them, then it's easier to believe. And so if you look at the history of cinema, especially as to women and minorities, it's often through this prism of sorrow that we have to tell our story. It's the stereotype. And the more it supports the stereotype, the more money you can get. When Denzel got the Oscar, he had to play a bad guy. Just start thinking through it. It's like, oh my God, you're getting awarded for the pathology. And so when you look at the history of cinema, if you look at it as a tapestry, it's thick on slavery, domestic violence, boys in the hood, Pookie got shot. I'm trying to give Pookie a break. Because if we do not tell the stories of success, other communities don't know, and our children don't know. So then when a lunatic in the White House gets in front of the National Press Club and says people that like him invented everything, and then 80% of what he names is invented by white people. But if you don't know, you can't even counter the narrative. And what you find out is this whole thing is a big piece of propaganda. And it's just a matter of which piece of propaganda are you pushing. Are you doing the we narrative or the just me narrative? And we've got to figure out that the world's a big place. It's a whole lot of us. And if we work together, we can make it better. Now, here's another reason why I hope you support this thing, why my wife and I decided to support. I'll let you know a little dirty secret of the film business. You see people on the big screen, you see them on TV. 70% of the time, 70% of all actors and actresses are not working. And it's 95% for Black and brown. And so most of them live what we call a fab lifestyle, famous and broke. Okay. And so we need support to put the art out so that at least we can start to counter the narratives that so many in this room have overcome. I mean, there are judges in this room, there are business leaders in this room, there's art leaders in this room, there's some amazing people in this room, and thank you. And we get to do this kind of work and put it forward because of people like yourself. So if you can, please support. And there's no amount that's too small. It's all appreciated. And hopefully what you saw on the screen, music is character. A great actor pouring himself into it, causing people to think. You didn't even see the whole thing. And it's like, okay, I want to see the rest of this.
But smart, very smart.
They let it roll a lot longer than I thought they were.
There's
a lot of questions.
Can you tell a little bit, Robert, about what you want people to take away from the end?
Oh yeah, you guys did not see the end. I'm actually really hyped that that the response is what it is leading up to it. Honestly, it was a cool experiment, and for me, BK kind of alluded to this. The term that they use in the business, they call it poverty porn. They said that's what we make is poverty porn, and so then you have a bunch of white people that don't want to see, certain things succeed, and then you have a bunch of black people that say we only succeed if we're showing, gang stories. We're only doing the whatever it is, and I think that it got us far away from telling what is actually happening to us here, which is very strange to me. I mean, yes, we have those things in the hood, we have those issues, but we just saw the same issues happen when he had a brownstone in Harlem, So the ending and the film was supposed to take you to the places that y'all were supposed to take, but I can promise you that I think what it means to this room is that we win in the end of the film, and that was the most important part to me because I think that the exhaustion from the poverty porn is actually from us losing in the end of it. You don't want to watch you struggle what you already struggle every day for 2 hours and then lose this shit at the end. And we constantly see this in our films. Queen and Slim came out. I don't know, probably a lot of y'all didn't see that, but if you did, I was in the theater when it came out, and I've never seen black people not only be so engaged and so in love with a story throughout, but walk out at the end of the movie. And it was so crazy, and it was such a realization. I'm arguing with these people about poverty porn and about telling our actual stories because it's what's happened to us, but I'm seeing what happens in the real time. So for us in this film, it was about that, but it was about being able to choose that road, that high road in the end. Keep your wife, your pride, and all of those things, and show you that we live on from those situations. I have not been in y'all's positions, but I have thrown out my dream job at whatever time and realized that I was actually okay afterwards. When thinking I was going to die in the midst of it, and had everyone around me telling me that it was the worst decision I had ever made. I was 24, so this was for us to go through that experience, and at the end, man, it would have been such a cool cheer in this room. But I promise you, it doesn't let you down. And it was very intentional just for us to go through it, know that you can go through it, know that you can come out on what we believe is on top. You talk about what you're getting from that, and a lot of people ask what you want black people to get from it. What do you want black people to get from it? Like I said, I want us to be heard. I don't believe in them understanding us because they've shown that they can. So I don't wait on something to change because of your morale or your whatever it is. I want us to be heard and seen, and that's what this does. I believe.
Yeah.
So that was really the goal of all of it.
I had a quick question. To tie it all together, because this was great for me. I'm business, tech, real estate. So I don't get a chance to mingle with the creatives. So my question is, when I went to see Sinners, I was expecting one thing and got something that I did not see coming. And I remember watching that movie thinking, the people that signed off on this and funded it, they didn't know he was about to do this. And it was just so powerful. And so, is that the new formula for you creatives getting your message through? Set it up like this, and then it's too late.
Yeah.
You got the message. Or do you even think about stuff?
I think it's cool that you even kind of picked up on that, because for me, it didn't go far enough, and but it snuck in the messages. Ryan Coogler is brilliant, but like, you got that camera real quick. All right, we're gonna, but like, we didn't, there's no white love interest in our film. There's no there are ways to sneak these things in with the other thing that like works. I don't necessarily think we had a lot of those in this, so we'll see if it works or not. But I do think that you make the best film you can, and you nuance it in the story, and that they are so narrow-minded with what they think our messages are that they will miss most of it. So I do believe that it is. We did that. There are, when we started this, somebody said to me that you need more good white people. That was before I was as PC as I am right now, and that conversation went the way it did. But like, it didn't. We didn't get money from those people. Let's just say that. But no, I do think that is we could have a 2-hour conversation on. I think that is the thing that we're missing. Right. You make the best movie. Don't just bombard them with the shit. This could have been a whole other thing. But I do think that there is a way to get our stuff on the biggest screens, out to the most people, still put the message in it, and nuance that storytelling in that way that I think Sinners and Ryan Coogler did beautifully. We're trying to put those messages in there, but having enough that they're okay with to get through them.
I align myself with a lot of what Byron just shared. What made Sinners so special, in my view, is that it was an original screenplay and something different. A love story to our community, wrapped in some horror, and it's like genre bending. People hadn't seen it before, and so you went to see the spectacle, or you went to see, the leads, and my boy playing two characters. There's some great monologues in it, and some of it impromptu. And so the talent was allowed to do their thing. The director had enough success where he could do his thing and tell the story he wanted to do. The scene with the dance is like super hard to do because you got all this stuff happening. You got somebody with the camera just trying to catch it all in one shot. It's really, really tough to do. I mean, the sophistication of what we've done. They had to invent some new techniques to really pull this off in the way that feels seamless and looks like it does. So it's really, really important. The other thing I think is, when I'm in a room or an editing room or we're thinking about greenlighting a project, I'm starting to move past what will they think, whoever the they is. I'm like, what is the story that I want to tell? What is the story that I think is needed and that can be helpful? And you do need to put in the medicine and know who your audience is. So, like, I'm some guy who used to be a phone. Anybody expecting me to do creative art? I think it's partly divine. How do you have 4 #1 Broadway shows in your first 4? It ain't me. God. Our next project is the definitive documentary on W.B. Du Bois. I'm actually flying to L.A. for the red carpet on this time next week. So we got Viola Davis, Common, Courtney Vance, Jeffrey Wright, Henry Louis Gates, Eddie Glaude Jr., Anna Nicole Jones, Andrew Young, I mean, it's packed. We're gonna win Emmys with it, you know. But then the one they're not expecting from me, again, because of the good stereotype, is the sequel to the masterclass. That's up next. We'll release that in December. Nope. Yeah, I'm doing that. And so nobody's expecting that, and that's okay. And so the point, so that's the Martin the highest grossing nature documentary of all time, and remains. Yeah. And so we're doing the sequel, and we're going to do something that's kind of a little different. So we're going to tell a story within a story and do our own genre bending. The beauty of it, though, is we don't have to go beg people for the money, so nobody can tell us what to do. And we have our own distribution. One of the hardest things for an independent, first, getting the money to make the film. Get that done. Then you have to get distribution. So somebody to say this is worthy of more people seeing it at a broad level. And then you need what's called P&A, prints and advertising, or marketing money to market so that people hear about it so they go and see it. If you make enough money, you can watch and repeat and do it again. And so only about 5% of films that are made worldwide get distribution. 5%. Hundreds of thousands of films are made every year. So 100% of my films get distribution. Okay, how do you do that? Because we learned that at School Horizon is business and marketing. So what do? Okay, distribution. Buy part of a distribution company. Okay. So I'm gonna make damn sure that the thing that gets me the money is in place. And so, but we have to be smart. You know, so not just make great art, not just tell an original story, but also understand the business of show business. It's part show, and I'm gonna let the creatives and the actors and do the show, and I'm coming in with the business.
And on that, everyone in the room, we can probably go on and go on, but each person has the opportunity now to be a part of Busboys. We are looking for each of you to bring at least 5 people on one hand. Just bring 5 people with you to Busboys. When is it going to be?
April 7th. We have a follow-on event to this, and it's at a much lower price point, $20. We're going to show part of the film and have the same conversation, but it's to really build audiences. So not only are we fundraising, but we're also audience building all over the United States, because that's how we're going to get distribution. That's how we're going to get audiences ready to go. And in terms of our fundraising tonight, thank you everybody for donating. Thank you. Many different ways in order to be a part of the film. One is a donor, but also one is an investor. So we also ask, I'm going to email, if I have your permission, email you and ask if you know of people who would want to fund something like this, who would want to actually also be an investor versus a donor. Donations are fully tax deductible. Investment is something in which you get the return. And so we have Tanya, yes, over there. She said she joined us as an investor. So she is, fiscally tied to this film. And we think it's going to be a huge success. And part of the fundraising effort is to finish the film so we can distribute, right? And so we have people in the works that are looking at the film actively right now. Stars is looking at it. Peacock is looking at it. Internationally, we have international sales agents looking at it as well as we speak. So there's a lot of festivals that are in play for us too, and that is going on as well. So we're planning, getting the money in to finish the film, do a rolling premiere starting this summer through the fall, so that after that we can go into theatrical.
And we need you to be a part of that. Absolutely. We really do. So on the table,
they're not on the table. I actually have them.
But on the table, purposely, my sister Jasmine made sure you see artists. This is Black Women's Month, and it's always been our sisters who've been pushing. And so I'm asking you, sisters, again, let's get Busboys full, beautiful on K Street Busboys. But I'm also asking my brothers to be connected. Bring someone with you. If each of us can take one hand and bring 5 people, imagine how we can continue this conversation as Busboys right here in Washington, D.C. I want to thank you all and know that there's some more food around here as well as the bar is still open. There's some wine. You want to carry the conversation, but I'm honored that you showed up, and I'm really looking forward to see you again at Westwood real soon.
I don't know if we mentioned it or not, but like the things they put